Yes, everybody, welcome to CM's United Report. Hope you're doing well. Hope your day's been blessed. Appreciate you coming by each and every time on this wonderful Friday. And we've got a lot of things to talk about. We're not even going to get into the ownership situation just yet. We've got quite a few stories and stuff to discuss later on when we do talk about it, because it is soft deadline day for Manchester United, and I will be explaining a little later on what that means and what could be happening going forward, including people who initially have put themselves forward to be interested in wanting to purchase Manchester United in a certain time period. But first and foremost, we'll be speaking about Erik ten Hag's presser. He kind of had a little pre-presser. I think it was like post-match or something like that, after the match yesterday, the Barcelona game. And what a game that was, by the way. United Twins should be out, I believe, tomorrow-ish. United Twins should be out tomorrow, because I'm going to be working on that today. So we should get an episode of the United Twins with me and my twin bro Cappy, just speaking about the game and all of that good stuff. And look out for it, because he got something a little different in terms of the look of the video. Maybe not the look of the video itself, but the thumbnail on deck. So look out for that one, because it may catch you a little off guard at first. So we're going to get into a few things regarding Erik ten Hag's presser, and also Manchester United appointing a new director of football operations. So let me go over here. You know, the few questions that Erik ten Hag was asked. He was spoken about the takeover situation as well. But he was asked questions regarding the busy schedule, how players will be able to re-energize and get ready for the Leicester game. And, yesterday, shout out to Paxton. He asked a very valid question regarding, Erik ten Hag not making more than one sub in the game against Barcelona. And the way I looked at it was basically, the team was playing well. Potentially, Erik ten Hag didn't want to, kind of interrupt the rhythm that they had got going, especially with the way we were playing in that second half. And, here, it's like, in the end of the day, we have to do the right things, to be in the right rhythm, when in terms of getting the right sleep, recovery, eating well, all of that good stuff there. And, obviously, injuries do happen. But if players are doing the most that they can in order to stay fit and be the best version of themselves, then that will happen, and we will see the best version of themselves on the pitch as individuals and as groups. But it's all about everybody doing it together, and that's the most important thing. Big up to Super Nick in the chat. Hope you're doing well for days and bless. I appreciate you coming by every time saying DOFE. Another interesting thing he was speaking about in terms of this question, you're third in the Premier League, on course to return to the Champions League. Did this performance convince you and show you that this team can compete in the Champions League? And he said, we're in the right direction, but we have to fight for it. There are two ways. One is to win the Europa League, and the other way is the Premier League. We know what to do, and we have to see it from game to game. We must fight to get back in the Champions League. And I think yesterday's performance against Barcelona, it gave a lot of people hope. We do have to kind of ground ourselves a little bit in regards to where we are, because there's still a long way to go. If you want Manchester United competing for trophies on a consistent basis, Premier League, Europa, Champions League, we're in a League Cup final on the 26th of February. Let's see how that goes. But, there's still a long way to go. Personnel to grow as well, come into the team. So it's going to be an exciting next few years, I feel like, when it comes to Manchester United and the way we develop, especially with the situations that you can see unfolding with the ownership, hopefully potentially getting a new owner that has fresh ideas and wants to develop Manchester United as a whole. That would be great, especially in the footballing departments. Super Nick saying ETH is such a holistic manager, seeing each player as an individual and bringing the best out of each person through optimizing multiple factors. And exactly that. Since he's come in, he hasn't been afraid to give certain players opportunities. And this season, it's almost been a type where, listen, this is your opportunity to show why you deserve to play for Manchester United, why you deserve to play under my management going forward. And you've seen the likes of Diogo Dalot from the start of the season improve, where a lot of people were kind of iffing and butting about the right back position. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, another right back, coming in when Dalot was injured after the World Cup and having a word and seeing certain things. I mean, his improvements in the team, being able to play well and stay at the club, because like I said in the watch-along yesterday, a lot of people were saying, oh, this guy's destined to leave the club in January. Rumours that he might go out on loan to Crystal Palace and other stuff like that. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka's really improved in that regard. I know Fred has had some kind of not so good performances, but even him in certain scenarios, yesterday against Barcelona, superb. In the second game against Leeds on Sunday, absolutely brilliant. And you can get that from Fred sometimes, which is really good to see. I'm just trying to think of other guys. Marcus Rashford regaining his confidence, developing under the coaching staff of the likes of Benny McCarthy and everybody else just working with him, regaining his confidence. So many other guys to speak about, but I'm going to leave it at that. Shout out to Hanno in the cut. Hope you're doing well. Your day's been blessed. I appreciate you coming by every time, saying, disgrace if United get bought by Qatar. Could you delve deeper into that opinion? Shout out to Hanno, though. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday. But yeah, they go on to talk about the busy schedule, all of that stuff there, the drop points between Arsenal and Manchester City, all of that stuff. And he just says, listen, if we're there in April or when the time is right, then you can start speaking about that situation. But it's just, in my opinion, it's way too easy to be talking about any title charge, especially if we haven't been there before. You kind of just have to ride out the time, enjoy it, drive into the sunset or whatever you want to call it. And then if we're there, we're there. If we're not, it is what it is. It's time to evaluate the reason why we're not there. And then during the summer, lead up to next season, we try and make that big push in order to get us closer to where we need to be. And then question was asked, so I know there are a lot of games and competitions for you to focus on, but bubbling over in the background is the news of potential investors and the takeover of the club. Have you been following that at all? And have the players been following it at all? How do you keep their focus on the football? Eric Ten Hag said, we are following it. It's our club. And of course we are committed, but we are focusing on football, on training, on our way of playing, on games. And that is what we are focusing on. And we're really enjoying it at the moment with togetherness, and it is enjoyable to work. Yeah, we are focusing on games. We have 4 league games and 4 league, competitions that we're in. So others in the club will have to take decisions and give efforts in that process. But it's not up to us. The likes of Richard Arnold, who he's asked a final question on, have they communicated or have you heard anything regarding the takeover? And he said, for the most part, no. But, at the start, he told me about the process, what's going to happen going forward. And we'll get more into that in a second as well, ladies and gents. But yeah, basically, in the end of the day, we are here to focus on football. We are here to go to training every day, work hard, improve as individuals and group footballers, and look at the next game, which is now Leicester City on Sunday, where we have to win if we want to stay in these positions and stay in the conversation, really. So, we focus on football. They focus in the other departments in the club, including finance and all of that stuff regarding the takeover. And I think that was the perfect answer that's the perfect answer that Eric Ten Hag could have given in the end of the day, because, it's important that there are no distractions at the moment with all the competitions that we're in. We have a final to prepare for. We're still in the FA Cup, Europa League, 3rd in the Premier League, but there has been a slight drop of form recently. So now we need to get back to winning ways. And I feel like that Barcelona result could do just enough in order to give us the confidence to spur on and keep going forward once again and striving for greatness. That second leg is going to be really exciting next week, Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you think in the comments. But once again, United Twins will be out tomorrow. I'm going to be filming it today. So look out for that one, and you'll have all the opinions of myself and my twin bro, Cappy, also on this channel. And before I get into the next story, be sure to drop a like on the live, subscribe if you're new, share it to your friends and frenemies. You get weekly, this live stream every week, CM's United Report. You get the United Twins and also the Stay United Watch Along, where we watch the game and react to it live. So it's always an exciting time with everybody who joins. Hano saying United already doing good with the amount of money they have. Imagine with oil money. It's an interesting opinion, Hano. It's it's an interesting opinion in the end of the day. But I've heard a lot of people say Manchester United, they can pay for their own transfers, they can pay for their own money. And yeah, that's fair enough. But when you look at Manchester United as a whole with the club, there's going to be a lot of things that need investment in, which is going to influence a lot of the people interested to buy the club, because there are so many things that need to be invested in outside of just player transfers and stuff like that. Old Trafford needs investment because it hasn't really been refurbished and stuff like that in many, many years since the Glazers have been in charge. Investments into the academy, the women's team, the facilities that every single team works within, the men's team, the women's team, the academy size, and all of that stuff there. So there's so many investments to be made, and that could eventually end up rising up the price that you pay for Manchester United when you include all of that stuff. So in terms of all of that, I get the point. I do get the point, but I think there's so many things that I think some fans are not looking at outside of just like player transfers and all of that stuff there, because they're looking at the money, the oil money, and that whole conversation and stuff. The second leg is going to be mad, especially with no Pedri and Gavi. That is a very interesting point as well, Hano, because Pedri came off injured, Gavi got booked as well. Even though I think earlier on somebody said, but it may have been due to the injury, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's going to be a crazy one, because I thought Pedri, excellent. Gavi, what a player as well. Two young stars for Barcelona is crazy. Do you think the new owners, with the new owners, they wouldn't like to move stadiums? Saying Hano. That's a difficult one. I don't know how to answer that question in the end of the day. We will have to see, because right now we're so, there's so many weeks to go and stories and candidates right now that it's difficult to say. I think closer to the time when the sale is due to be finalized, we will find out the intentions of the ownership and the intricacies of what, for example, needs to be done and what the owners want to do and their proposals and all of that stuff closer to the time, closer to the time. But what we can do, ladies and gentlemen, we can move over to our next story, which is Manchester United appointing a new director of football operations, who is David Harrison. So the director of football operations, he joins from Everton. He was a club secretary, I believe, at Everton. Just reading this one here. So he was the Everton's club secretary, but has now moved to Manchester United, where he will report to football director John Murtough and have the job titled Director of Football Operations. Let me know what you think of that one. So he will report to John Murtough, United's football director overall, and be based at the club's Carrington Training Centre. Harrison's main remit will be responsible for ensuring United's football operations run as smoothly and effectively as possible. His role will also include management of football operations for the men's, women's and academy teams. So it's going to be crucial to how all of those teams operate, including football administration, team travel, and player support. So what do you think of that appointment? Once again, David Harrison joining, used to be Everton's club secretary, and I believe he's going to be there until the end of February and then come in. And he will be replacing, Alan Dawson, who is leaving United after 11 years at the end of July. So it's a little replacement there. What do you think of the appointment? I think in the end of the day, you're bringing in somebody who has potentially new ideas of how to run, and how to help operate those teams and optimize the operations regarding all of those different teams, which you need in the end of the day. So let's see how it goes. I don't have much of an opinion on it right now, because I didn't know much about David Harrison and all of that stuff there regarding the job that he did at Everton. Obviously a different role, and now he's moving into this role as director of football operations. So hopefully it'll be a positive appointment going forwards, and we'll just have to see as time goes on what changes, or if anything changes at that. Hano saying it would be so funny if Glazers stopped the sale. Hey, listen, I'm not putting that negative energy out there, but one thing I'll say is there are possibilities of there not being a full sale, even though that is the most likely option at this moment of time, which was being reported by a lot of different people. There are options out there that the Glazers, because when you look back to the comment that they make in terms of looking for different strategic options, they wanted to, it wasn't just a full sale. There was investments that they were looking for potentially in order to fund maybe a new stadium, or refurbishing and rebuilding Old Trafford and adding certain things onto it. So there are many different possibilities, and Hannah also saying just giving Murto less work in regards to that. But in the end of the day, we did have a director of football operations already employed, which we could see here. It was let me go down to the name once again. So Alan Dawson, who was in that role for the most part, and he's been at the club for 11 years, so I don't know what other roles he's been in, but it seemed like he was the latest one to be in that role, and now he's leaving the club. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what potentially changes or what doesn't. Let me know what you think about that in the chat, in the comments, if you're watching this video after the live, all of that good stuff. Big up yourself, by the way. But now we can get into the exciting stuff. Because we have a lot of news to discuss regarding the takeover and what's going to be happening at Manchester United. Regarding Qatari investors, Saudi Arabia entering the race at Manchester United. I did also briefly want to explain what a soft deadline is, which I think I'm going to do right now before I get into any of the stories. So what is a soft deadline in regards to this? Because it has been reported that at 10 p.m. today, that is the end of the soft deadline. And what it is basically, it's just an opportunity to see how many people are initially interested and how much, what they're willing to do and the money that they're willing to pay in order to purchase the club initially. The Rain Group, who are helping the Glazers through this process, will be doing the due diligence and all of the work for the Glazer family, collecting information, and they'll start to feed the Glazers with the valuable information of the studies that they've been conducting and the serious contenders that they have found out of this process. So there will be a selection of, per se, groups who come forward, say they want to buy Manchester United, give them their initial proposals, and the Rain Group's job is to evaluate and study all of those people and find out who are the serious candidates from the ones that should be brushed aside going forward in the process, so there isn't any time wasted and all of that stuff there. But yeah, for the moment, there will be communications with all parties involved to advance the sale process, and all the initial offers can be edited and fine-tuned to meet the ongoing demands as time progresses. But that is a little summary of what this soft deadline is. It's not nothing major. It's just, almost the start of the sale process as it goes by. Super Nick saying Harrison will have responsibility for managing all football operations at Carrington for the men's, women's and academy team. Yeah, Super Nick, just read that out. Big up yourself. But yeah, it's going to be interesting once again. And welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. It's going to be interesting to see, because I haven't seen much reactions online regarding that appointment. Super Nick also coming with something from BBC Sport with the role included. Yeah. So all of that good stuff. Big up Super Nick for the quotes and all of them things there. You know how it is. Big ups to Super Nick coming through. Super Mod in the cut. Hano inside as well. Blessings to everybody else who may be lurking and watching in the background. So blessings to you all. But we're going to get into this first story, which is Qatari investors are confident they will win the race to buy Manchester United ahead of Sir Jim Radcliffe. Of course, the English most richest man, Sir Jim Radcliffe, who has announced with his business Ineos that he's interested in potentially purchasing Manchester United. He was interested in purchasing Chelsea as well. So it's all of that good stuff. Very interesting process. But from this story, from the Daily Mail, Mike Keegan, who's had a lot of reporting over the past few weeks, past few days regarding this sale of Manchester United. So Qatari investors are confident they will win the race to take over Manchester United, and the club could be in new hands within 6 weeks. That is the interesting part from this story, is that the club could be in new hands within 6 weeks. So for the most part, what we've heard up to this point is that there is an aim to get everything concluded by the summertime. But Mike Keegan is reporting that the club could, keyword could, be in new hands within 6 weeks if all goes well. Their bid will be made on Friday ahead of the 10 p.m. soft deadline for interested parties to submit their offer. While the aim, reading once again, is to ensure that the process is completed by the summer transfer window, it is understood, based on the interest shown, which is probably quite a few parties as well, United could have new owners by the end of next month. And then we speak about a soft deadline, and we're going to speak about something else as well. So what do you think about that? Do you believe that the club could be sold by the end of March, which it will be now because we're kind of mid-February, over to the latter stages of this month, and then we'll go into March, which is going to be an interesting and big month, going forward. I'm gonna be excited for that one. But what do you guys think in the chat? Super Nick speaking on Harrison once again. Manchester United hiring a new director of football operations in David Harrison. He's saying that he has spent 11 years at Everton, so lots of experience. And that is an interesting one. I knew he was currently the club secretary for Everton. I don't know what other kind of jobs he was working in before that, because a lot of the time these guys, they work themselves up in different roles. So interesting to find that one out there as well. Big up to Manch. Hope you're doing well. Your day's been blessed. Appreciate you coming by each and every time. Hope you're doing well. Happy Friday to everybody inside. But this is an interesting one, and it was a story that I kind of bucked up upon preparing for this show, last minute preparation. It came out today, or I should say maybe latter stages of yesterday, but I saw it kind of today. Is that Saudi Arabia enters the race to buy Manchester United. So this one is coming from the Telegraph, where I saw it. Saudi Arabia has submitted a bid for a British football club, Manchester United, ahead of Friday's deadline. The Telegraph reported on Thursday, multiple private groups in Riyadh have made formal inquiries, the report added. British billionaire Jim Radcliffe, a lifelong supporter of the club, founder of chemicals firm Ineos, is a likely bidder, along with US private equity firms, who we don't know as of yet. Maybe after this live stream, going forwards, when it comes to the deadline, we will find out a bit more and some stories will break. But right now, we don't know everybody else in terms of the owners and the people interested in the end of the day. Let's see. Man saying, I need to see a statement from United that the current owners are going to sell up before I get excited for the club's future. Big up to Drizzy in the car. Hope you're doing well. Your day's been blessed. I appreciate you coming by each and every time. What is these nonsenses I'm hearing from some of the journalists? Hey, Drizzy, there's some interesting news coming out recently, man. Be sure to slap some in the chat. Give your thoughts as well on the whole scenario, because there's a lot of different things going around right now. Different opinions from fans, some news from journalists as well. I'm just trying to put in the news right now that sounds most legit, because there's a lot of different news going around, which you would expect with it being Manchester United, but who knows. But yeah, that is a report regarding Saudi Arabia entering the race for Manchester United. No surprise regarding that one there, but in the end of the day, you would expect a lot more people to come through with their interest of the club and wanting to buy it. And I've seen a lot of people also, and we will speak about this, because later on there's a story that I'm going to be talking about regarding UEFA being asked to block the Qatari-led takeover of Manchester United, or the potential Qatari-led takeover of Manchester United, and UEFA doing other stuff before at the start of the week. So we will get into that in a few seconds. But also, there was a story that came out from Bloomberg recently, saying literally last night after the game, it came out from Bloomberg saying Qatari Royals plan 5 billion opening bid for Manchester United. So Qatari investors are ready in a roughly $5 billion, $6 billion opening bid for Manchester United. People with knowledge of the matter said ahead of what's expected to be a fierce bidding war for the English football giant. A consortium including Hamad bin Yassim bin Jaber Al Thani, the country's former prime minister and ex-head of the Qatar Investment Authority, is putting the final touches on a proposal to acquire the English Premier League club from the Glazer family. A deal for Manchester United could represent the biggest takeover of a professional sports club on record, potentially surpassing the 4.65 billion paid last year for the Denver Broncos NFL team. So, you know, what we're getting from all of the stories that have come out this week and the last few days, in the end of the day, is that there are, you know, quite a lot of people interested in the club. But that's why we're saying soft deadline today, and it's the Rain Group's job to really see who are serious about making those investments into the club and paying the price close enough to what the Glazers want, which we know is high, very, very high. In the end of the day, Jizzy saying they won't separate fan base. They won't win that war. Super Nick also saying these journalists have been busy trying to make the fan base hate the idea of Qatar owners. We know why. You know what? I can get into that one real quick and take a break from the story reporting, because this is quite interesting, you know. Big ups to Eagle Eye Football. Hope you're doing well. Your days been blessed. I appreciate you coming by each and every time. So, man, the soft deadline today is 10 p.m. 10 p.m. UK time. That is the soft deadline. So we'll probably be seeing stories up until then regarding who's initially interested, man. So shout out to you. Be sure to follow Eagle Eye Football. Subscribe to Eagle Eye Football over on YouTube. Fantastic content. And Nikki, shame on you, Nikki. You cheat, you disgrace. And I hope you get the hot chip at the end of the season. But listen, yeah, back to the story and regarding Drizzy's comments and all of that stuff there regarding Qatar. It's quite interesting because a lot of fans online are kind of against it. They're calling it blood money because of the human rights issues. And we'll get more into that later on regarding the human rights issues of Qatar and a lot of the places that are involved. You understand it. You understand the concerns if you're well educated on the issues in the end of the day. But alright, cool. I feel like at times people who are not highly educated, and even myself, I'm not fully educated on the situation, which is why I'm not going to say too much as well. But there are things, you know, in the end of the day, these people are not just operating in their own country, they're operating all around the world. And there are companies they have stakes in, you know, the likes of Volkswagen. A lot of people in the UK have Barclays bank accounts and bank cards. They have stakes in Barclays, you know what I mean? Canary Wharf Group. That's a place in England once again. Sainsbury's, they have stakes in Sainsbury's, shares in Sainsbury's, Harrods, you know, so many. The London Olympic Village. This is literally a website that I researched and I'm reading off of. There are so many places in the UK, in England. The Shard, which is one of the biggest tourist attractions in the UK, in England. The Shard. So, you know, you understand if you're well educated on the situation and you don't want, or you have a valid reason as to why you don't want, you know, Qatari investors or anything like that, then you can understand the argument if their argument is valid. And even me, I'm going to be doing a lot more research regarding this situation as to why, to work out as to why people have such a strong opinion. I feel like some people is a valid opinion, some people is kind of just hearing from other people, hearing different things here and there, and not being well educated on the situation, which is the biggest problem, and which is why there will be divisions within the fan base, because we've seen already on Twitter, on various social media platforms, that fans once again are doing the Manchester United thing of arguing and getting in the middle of each other and saying you're wrong, I'm right, this, that, and that. but we don't know the full situations as to what's really going on around the world, you know? Hey, man. Super Nick saying this could be a start of a mini bidding war as all the different parties begin to show their hand, as so far it has only been Radcliffe talking. It's a soft deadline. This is to encourage potential owners to present their bids. Exactly that, Super Nick. She's also saying the Glazers are at the point where they get excited seeing people possibly outbid each other, driving the price of the club up. And exactly, and that is something that I read today as well. The stocks, the Manchester United stocks are sky high right now because everybody's talking about them. We've known about this soft deadline day for weeks now, days. And this is the day where the prices and the stocks of the club are going up once again. And that can only work to the favour of the Glazers. So it's an interesting one there. Shout out to Rich again, Eagle Eye Football. He's saying that it looks like there's going to be an appeal on the original sentence. Some of the WEF rallied for a greater sentence of Nick. Hey, listen, go over to Eagle Eye Football and check out the video. Nicky is a cheat. He's a disgrace. He's a cheat. And he played the game, but the game was him. The game was him, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get back into all of the news stories before we reach the end of the episode. I just want to say big up to everybody watching thus far. We're really 30 minutes into the episode because we had a little, few minutes waiting for everybody to come in. 10 minutes or so enjoying the music of the intro. Let me know if you like that, by the way. Shout out to Super Nick. She told me to add it. So I obliged. You know what I mean? But anyway. So we have Qatar. We spoke about that one already. Yeah, so we spoke about the Qatari Royals opening 5 million bid. But also, there was news that came out a few days ago, and that kind of transitions perfectly from what we were speaking about in the end of the day. So UEFA were set to give, or are set to give, the group of Qatari investors the green light to bid for Manchester United, despite concerns over a conflict of interest with QSI already owning PSG. So the story states, and I quote, Qatar is not interested in buying a minority stake and would have plans to rebuild Old Trafford, which could add another 1.2 billion to their initial investment, as well as modernize the training ground, which is what a lot of people want to hear. However, the biggest obstacle to date has been a UEFA rule protecting the integrity of the Champions and Europa Leagues, which states that no club participating in UEFA club competitions may hold or deal securities or shares in other clubs participating or involved in any capacity whatsoever in the management, administration, and or sporting performance of any other club participating in those same competitions. So basically, if you already own a club like QSI on PSG, they're competing in the Champions League year in, year out. You wouldn't be able to own another club that potentially is competing and butting heads with them at the same time. Any Qatari investors would ultimately be linked to Sheikh Tamim, given the grip of the royal family, the grip that the royal family has on wealth in the small state. PSG have been owned by Qatar Sports Investment since 2011, which is a subsidiary of the state's sovereign wealth fund, Qatar Investment Authority. However, the prospect of Qatari money rebuilding Old Trafford and regenerating the land around it in Old Trafford will provide important political momentum in the UK, as it would be a key government aim in levelling up communities. So that is an interesting one there. And then literally I'll say yesterday and a couple days before, there's been almost a request by a group where they've asked UEFA to block any Qatari-led takeover. So in that first story, they speak about how, there will be positives for Manchester United, for the UK, if they invest within the communities and everything involved in that, rebuilding and just renovating Old Trafford and the training facilities, the communities around it. But now we're going to read about this story, which speaks about, in a letter seen by the BBC, The human rights group Fair Square has written to UEFA President Alexander Seferin, copying in Premier League chief Richard Masters, to highlight several issues of serious concern after reports that entities linked to the Qatari government are proposing a bid that would enable them to take a controlling stake in Manchester United. The letter continues, and I quote, "In line with UEFA's rules aimed at protecting the integrity of its competitions, we would urge UEFA to outline a clear public position prohibiting any takeover of this nature. No consortium of Qatari investors capable of such an acquisition would be able to convincingly demonstrate their independence from the Qatari state." And, that goes back to the original issue, which is, are they going to, whatever Qatari investor is interested in bidding for Manchester United, interested in owning the club, are they truly going to be separate from the likes of QSI? That is the question people have been asking. Shout out to Nuruddin as well. We had a conversation a while back where he kind of was stressing that couldn't be the case, and he doesn't think it's going to happen. But, there are reports that say otherwise at the same time, that say there will be separate people and they won't be getting support from the likes of QSI and other people that may hinder that sale opportunity and that opportunity to purchase the club. Drizzy saying, why are people so afraid of Manchester United having Qatari owners or Saudi owners? I think, Drizzy, what I've seen online on Twitter and stuff like that regarding all of that stuff there, and the fear of, people not wanting Qatari and Saudi owners and people from the Middle East overall, is that, they've been saying, will they have the integrity to care about the club Manchester United? This is not coming from me per se. This is coming from the things that I've seen. And, once again, the human rights issues regarding places in the Middle East and stuff like that, which was a hugely reported issue in the World Cup as well. When we go back to that in November, December, how people were speaking about the World Cup, human rights issues there, the BBC multiple times reporting on those issues, and other stuff including that too. But yeah, there's a lot of fear. I don't know if that will change, because it's quite interesting how things have developed over time, don't you think? Originally, and I don't know what's happened to Michael Knighton, because earlier on in the process, before we even got the original kind of press release from the Glazers saying that they wanted to look for investments and stuff like that, there was a guy called Michael Knighton who used to work within the board of Manchester United back in the days. And he was trying to kind of find a consortium, or put together a consortium where they could put in a hostile bid for Manchester United. That was before it was revealed the club is up for sale, or per se up for sale, or looking for investment opportunities. But we haven't really heard much from the Michael Knighton as of recently, which is quite interesting, to be fair, if you ask me. But yeah, it will be interesting to see if we hear anything from him today or going forwards. But he was kind of trying to encourage Sir Jim Radcliffe in wanting or to come forward, maybe join him in a consortium or bid for the club himself. And he was trying to encourage him, and everybody was like, yes, Sir Jim Radcliffe and all of that stuff there. And then as time has progressed, and there's been interest from Qatari ownership, Saudi ownership now, and other areas, people have kind of moved away from the likes of Sir Jim Radcliffe. They also don't want anybody from the USA, which is, hit or miss, to be fair. I think, the experience we've had with the Glazers has really tainted the reputation of an American ownership within the fan base. But, a lot of people are really interested in this oil money, as they would say. The likes of Saudi. Super Nick also mentions in the comments Dubai, who have been, commented on being interested in the past as well. Maybe we'll hear something from them later on too. She's also saying Knighton said he baited out Radcliffe, so his work was done. Let's see. There's also a possibility of interest from Saudi and Dubai. Also, Saudi are considering Liverpool too. That's something to think about as well. Liverpool have been quietly up for sale, potentially, and we haven't really heard much regarding that process. Everything really has been about Manchester United. I could be wrong, but who knows? Man says Jim Radcliffe is like Glazers 2.0. And that's an interesting one because on last week's United report, we looked at just Jim Radcliffe's ownership of Nice and kind of the negatives that have come from that ownership and how they've taken a step back really as a club since he took over in 2019. So I know a lot of people that are skeptical of the ownership of Sir Jim Radcliffe, and maybe his talk may be just all up in the air, and once he does gain ownership, there aren't going to be the operations that a lot of fans are hoping for. Harris Blitzer USA would only be interested in being a minority shareholder to buy out the other Glazer siblings, saying Super Nick. Harris Blitzer, that must be some new news that has come out recently. I'm trying to find that one. Let me see if I can find it. Search for it online. So Harris Blitzer. Harris Blitzer. Let's see. Okay, so that is something that I'm seeing coming out from like January times, late January times, regarding him wanting to be a minority stakeholder at the club. So let's have a look at that again. That Super Nick reports Crystal Palace shareholders Josh Harris and David Blitzer considering bidding for minority stake in Man United in a deal that could see the Glazers stay at Old Trafford. Let's see. So Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment are exploring a deal for a minority stake just months after losing out to Todd Bowley over the deal to buy Chelsea for $4.25 billion. The Glazers remain unclear if they are looking for a total sale of the United. The Americans suggested all the way back in November that they were open to the idea of finally leaving Old Trafford. But a full takeover isn't, it isn't doubled down just yet. It isn't a something that we know to be. They maintained the value at $7 billion, which has to go down, right? Right? But yeah, shout out to Super Nick for kind of speaking about this story once again and the possibility of people putting in bids, because it won't be just full bids coming in today. There may be a possibility of bids for minority stakes and investments coming in as well. So they own multiple entertainment and sports groups, saying new Super Nick as well. Big ups to yourself on reporting that one. Kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, regarding the whole situation, we spoke about why potentially people would oppose the Middle Eastern ownership model because of all of the stuff that's behind them. We know about their kind of bids to try and transform the look and the reputation of their countries by using sports and various entertainment models. We know a lot about that. If you know about just various different sports models regarding wrestling, football, just so many different things. If they get involved and buy out the Glazer siblings, nothing will change, saying Super Nick. And that is the issue that we hope can be prevented. What we don't want, which is somebody taking up the minority stakes and making sure the Glazers remain in charge of the full operations of the club. That is what we don't want ending up. So prayers that this situation, like I said, it could be six weeks. It could be up until the the summer transfer window, should I say. So there's a lot of news to be reported from now until then. I want to big up to everybody and big up to Man. Speak to you soon, bro. But, I want to big up to everybody that's come here over the course of this little news report. It is a little shorter today, but a lot of the news regarding Manchester United has been about this takeover this week. And I've only tried to pick out certain stories that are a little relevant to the time we are in right now. On top of course, United appointing David Harrison and Ten Hag's little presser that he had, which didn't have a lot in there, but it had enough to speak about in the end of the day. Super Nick saying, as for Elon Musk, this is a marketing strategy and not someone who cares about the club. That is an interesting opinion on the situation as well. What do you guys think about that in the comments if you're watching after, and also in the chat? Anybody else that could potentially come forward? Who do you think, you know, leading up to this 10 p.m. deadline will be a perfect suitor to take over the club from the Glazers ownership if that does happen in due time? There is news coming out from Sky saying that, you know, that there is expectations to have a new owner by Easter. Right, Easter's in what, March, April, I believe. Easter. So April 9th, Sunday, April 9th, 2023. It's around that time. So look out for that. Closer enough to the summer transfer window and the end of the season, depending on what Manchester United will be doing then. But let me have a look at it, actually. Man United. Have a look at their fixtures. Obviously, more could be added on depending. But right now, we're looking at April. Around that time, we'll be playing Everton on the 8th. That depends if it doesn't get rearranged, if we're in more competition still. But around that time, we'll still have quite a few Premier League games to play. And of course, it could be Europa League, FA Cup, potentially, if we're still in those competitions. Which is it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot, ladies and gentlemen, to be in those competitions up until that point. But you know, we've got to ride out the journey, enjoy the journey while it lasts, and see how far this team and Erik ten Hag can take us this season. It's been a very up and down year when you think about the start of the campaign, how we started, a lot of criticism, a lot of panic, and how we've developed since those difficult moments. You look at the loss against Manchester City, that was boys against men, too easy. And then since then, we've gone from strength to strength, especially after the World Cup. Super Nick saying, sorry to go backwards, but the appointment of Harrison is suspect at this time, considering a new owner could be in shortly. I do understand that one, Super Nick. And my concern as well is that he was in a club secretary role. And you know what? Maybe I need to look into more the jobs and the role of a club secretary at the time, especially at a football club. But I'm not 100%, which is why I said let's see what happens. Potentially new ideas. We'll see what goes on in due time, because he's not taking over immediately. I believe he'll be coming in. Let me see what the story says when he will be starting his role at the club. Give me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. So he says he will leave Everton at the end of February and start at United next month in March. Let's see. I'm not sure about his knowledge in this particular role, other than him being a Manc. He used to work in the ticket office back in 1995, saying Super Nick. So that is an interesting thing as well. If you could, Super Nick, could you send a link through to those little stories that you find in the future as well, because I'm not sure where this information is coming from and all of that good stuff there. Super Nick also saying the timing and everything else is off. So yeah, there's a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things to find out in due time. I'm not too sure regarding all that ticket office stuff and that, but I'm sure you guys will see it online on Twitter, on stories. Super Nick saying that came from BBC Sport. So that's an interesting one. Shout out to Marcus Rashford, named Europa League Player of the Week. Big ups to Marcus Rashford once again, man. But I'm going to try and find that real quickly regarding Manchester United. So give me a second before I dip out. Let me see if I can find something. Okay, new director of football operations. So yeah, Harrison is from Bury in Greater Manchester and began work in a ticket office at Old Trafford before moving to Everton in 1995. Okay, so he moved to Everton in 1995, and before then he was working in a ticket office at Old Trafford. So big up to Super Nick once again. And he also said, I'm excited to be taking this role at the time of such an opportunity and promise for Manchester United. He said, my focus is on helping create the best possible operating environment to support success on the pitch, which is what everybody wants to be hearing, but we shall see when the time comes. I believe John Murtaugh had some comments as well saying David is known as one of the most able and respected operators in football, and we are delighted that he has chosen to join Manchester United. He will bring deep experience and knowledge to this important role and add further strength to our structure to give our players and staff the best chance of success. So that is that on the new situation of our director of football operations. The Glazers ownership, the soft deadline, everything I've gone over on what's almost been 50 plus minutes now of this show. I do want to big up everybody that's been here. Super Nick, Manj, Eagle Eyed Football, Drizzy, Hanno, who's been here as well. Just blessings to all the support over these episodes. Once again, we'll be back next week with another United report speaking about maybe more ownership scenarios and other news that's come out over the week regarding Manchester United. Also, look out for the United Twins tomorrow with myself and my twin bro Cappy speaking about that Barcelona result, that electric, that brilliant game against Barcelona in the first leg of the Europa League knockout round playoffs. So many words, so many letters. It's a sticky one still, but I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Friday. Like what Super Nick is saying, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, share to your friends and frenemies, click the notification bell to know when we go live, to know when videos are released. Follow, links are all in the description as well, ladies and gentlemen. A link to my Twitch, a link to my second channel, where on early Sunday morning we'll be doing a WWE watch along for Elimination Chamber. It's gonna be fun times indeed. But also follow me over on Twitter, CM22ENT. Join the community Discord where there is a channel where you can submit all of the stories you have read over the week regarding Manchester United, so we can discuss them right here on CM's United Report. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Have a wonderful start to your weekend. And until the next time, I'll see you lot, sinners.